Hello, I'm PhocusWire Editor-in-Chief Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio at the Phocuswright Conference, and I am joined by Rob Torres. He is Senior Vice President of Media and Affiliate Solutions at Expedia Group. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Mitra. It's great to be here.
So we are talking about Expedia Group's newest path to purchase research. How did you find that the traveler landscape and ecosystem has changed in recent years from what you saw?
Well, what we found is travelers are consuming way more content than ever before. And the survey showed us that the average customer globally, and this survey looked at 7 different countries, and we surveyed over 5,700 or so people. And these travelers surveyed had all booked a trip online in the last 12 months.
Okay.
And what we found on average in the 45 days before booking, these travelers had consumed over 300 minutes of content. Wow. In a variety of areas. So it wasn't all inspiration, but that was the start of it, the inspiration phase. But then we looked at where were they going during the research phase, how were they planning, and then where were they ultimately booking. Okay. And that whole phase of time actually took almost 2 months.
Wow.
So I think that's what's changed more is people are consuming just as much content as before. And we could talk about and all these things that are helping, but the end goal is people are booking and they still enjoy consuming content.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much content out there, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's and it looks better than ever, right? Everything,
and the imagery, everything is better than ever. It really is.
So let's talk a bit more then. How would you describe truly that path to purchase for a traveler?
Well, so like I said, there's 4 specific areas that we looked at and we surveyed. And it all starts with the inspiration phase. And where are people going for inspiration? And what we found was over 77% of inspiration is starting with social. Okay. That is new because, well, social didn't really exist in its current frame, for the last couple of years. So we've seen a big change there. And then if you go into the research phase, that's where search engines become a big part of people searching. They're now trying to decide between destinations. And then as you go into planning, all of these areas kind of drop and OTAs kind of pick up because people want to book with what they're comfortable with. And the OTAs have become still and remain a big place where people are comfortable booking. Yeah. In fact, our survey found that of those people, more than 51% ended up booking on an OTA. Okay. So you got to look at those 4 different areas independently. But as a marketer, you've got to not give up on any certain area because the reality is they're all important, and where people are going and consuming that content actually varies depending on what part of that journey they're on.
Yeah, super interesting. So let's just talk a bit more about that inspiration piece, because I think that's really interesting. And of course, that's kind of what kicks everything off.
And it's the fun part of it. Well, the fun part's probably the travel and experiencing the trip after that. But on the journey to purchase, I mean, inspiration is absolutely the place where we like to think about what's next. And what we found is this hasn't changed. Still, the number one place we go to for inspiration is family and friends. Okay. 37% of all inspiration starts with you talking to your spouse, or your children are now seeing something on social media, then they're coming to you and say, we have to go there. And that's where it's starting. But it's followed up 28% pretty closely with life events, sporting events. Oh. People are now, I think the post-COVID and that whole idea of travel was taken away from me. Now, travelers more than ever are saying, I'm not going to miss out. I always wanted to go to an F1 event. Yeah. So I'm going.
Or a Taylor Swift
concert. Think of what that's done. I'm going to go to that because who knows if I'll ever get another chance. And so 28% of inspiration is coming from a life event. I want to take it. And then you drop down to just that spring breaks, the vacations, the holidays that you have those events that are planned, and people are still traveling for those events. And lastly, though, and this is up to bit, 21% in our survey were inspired by social media or advertising. Oh. So, people kind of poo-poo advertising or whatnot, but it's still only, a fifth of consumers are inspired by something that they saw, a wonderful ad. You talked about a beautiful picture, a beautiful image, and they're like, I want to go there.
Yeah.
So it's those 4 areas that are really driving inspiration. And I think it's just important that we know that depending on what type of, if you're a destination, if you're a supplier, that people can get inspiration from many, many places.
Yeah, wow, it's really fascinating. So let's talk then a bit about the factors as travelers go beyond that inspiration phase. What are some key things that stick out to you from what you found in this research?
Well, so when they move to research and planning, they're really looking for ease, functionality. Okay. They go back to places where they're comfortable. They're comfortable with the site. They're familiar with the site and how it functions.
Yeah.
The sites offer them opportunities to redeem loyalty. That's still very, very important. A lot of our survey customers says they go back to and book with brands that they're loyal to and comfortable for, and they can use their points or currency. And that's really important. But it really is that there's different cash payment methods.
Yeah, that's a huge one we keep hearing about.
And, and that they're available and I have a choice.
Yeah.
And more than one choice. And that's really, really important.
Yeah. It's that sense of, I think, security and familiarity,
Exactly. That, I don't think there's as much as is my transaction going to be safe. I think we've moved beyond that, but there's still issues with that. And you want to make sure that, where I'm booking is legitimate. Yeah. I'm comfortable that if something happens, and that's the other thing, if something happens and for some reason I can't go for some reason or not, that I will be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a big bit of it. And we learned that during COVID, and who took care of their guests during that time and who didn't. And I think people are really conscious of that.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Well, we are out of time. Rob Torres.
We're already out of time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to talk to you.
It's good to see you.
All right. Thank you.